The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
Welcome back to Bite by Bite. He is the CEO of the Heart of Alabama Food Bank, Michael Cromer. We do a great show called Mission Minded, which airs right before this on Tony Kurre Radio at least 5 days a week. Thanks to thousands of folks who listen to it every single week. We've got some P1s out there. We really appreciate you. And, of course, the people who help out the Heart of Alabama Food Bank and listen to Tony Kurre Radio. You can get this wherever your favorite podcasts are available. We're available everywhere. And we don't take time off of the holidays, so make sure you listen. I know Michael's hoping he gets a couple of shows off. That's not going to happen, my friend. We need you. This is a time of the year where we are, the average human being is going to gain 8 to 10 pounds. More than likely not going to take it off. I have found myself splurging and you know, I've taken that extra hand of M&Ms every night before I've gone to bed. I've already seen a couple of pounds come on. I was going to the Galleria the other day. I was at 1:30 in the afternoon on Saturday. And I drove by the Olive Garden parking lot, and the Olive Garden, man, this state loves some Olive Garden. The Olive Garden parking lot was packed. There was a 45-minute wait at 1:30 on a Saturday afternoon. I'm like, what in the world's going on? Who eats at 1:45 in the afternoon? It was packed. And all I could think about was how many plates of food, because you get a lot of food there, how many plates of food are going to be going into the trash? Well, I try to do the best I can, and you'll realize this when you're a parent and you've got 3 kids, that you must eat your leftovers. You know, and you make sure you take his, I mean, sometimes I'll even order something. I think Olive Garden's got something where they have a thing where you actually order an extra meal just so you have some leftovers. But we do just have an incredible waste of food from the minute it comes out of the ground all the way to the minute it comes out our back end. Can you talk a little bit about how we can stop that waste? And I know that's a really broad general question because there's a lot of different areas, from restaurants to food banks to even our own kitchen table.
Yeah, so just as a whole, one of the things that a lot of people don't know is how much the whole Feeding America network. Now, the food banking system is even bigger than Feeding America. So you have the Feeding America system, that's a network of 200 food banks, plus affiliated food banks and state agencies. All that's under the Feeding America umbrella. But you also have other food banks outside of the Feeding America network, like there's one in the Midwest called Midwest Food Bank, and others that do a lot of this similar kind of food rescue, food redistribution. Feeding America alone each year salvages about 4.7 billion pounds and keeps it from going into a landfill unnecessarily, just being wasted. They have a goal of adding 1 billion pounds to get to 5.7, maybe even up to 6 by the year 3030, which lets you know, saving that much more food, it has to be very intentional. It has to be very coordinated. It has to be, hey, when food's available, you've got to get a truck there. You've got to be able to safely deliver it without picking up unnecessary amounts of bacteria, redistributing out, just all the keeping the food channels safe, and all that. So it's not just going and picking up food and taking it from one place to another. It's getting it there, and before it goes bad, being able to safely distribute that to other people. And it's a huge endeavor. One of the things that I think is, we've touched on this probably before, but one of the things I think is just so much misinformation in the public about food. We used to see it on the cans and stuff where it would say expired. And so we just grew up with that. Yeah, if there's a date on it, it's expired. We've talked about that now. Some of them you'll see it's a sell by date. And of course, I've talked about my wife, if I got a date on there and it goes to midnight, she'll pour the milk out. Even if she just bought it, because she's like, well, it's gone bad. No, that's the sell by date. You have another week at home. Anyway, some people, it's a real stigma, but there's so much misinformation. So one of the things maybe some of our listeners could be able to help people understand is, if people understood that most products now have called a best if purchased by. And if we have a best if purchased by, means the manufacturer is going to, within that date, in essence, guarantee that it's going to be the same consistency, the same color, the same texture, everything just like it came out of the same taste, everything. So what happens is the USDA has analyzed all sorts of different things, and they've tested it for food safety and quality, and they said yes, the grocer is responsible for that for food safety reasons and quality assurance and all that. And so they put that best if used by date, but that food is still safe to eat sometimes many months. Like some of those cans can be extended by USDA 18 months. Peanut butter can be extended like 3 years past the best if used by date.
Yeah.
And so part of that is we recognize that, but when sometimes when people still get it, they go, wait a minute, you're giving me expired food. And we're like, well, first of all the food is not, and it's very important. People think we only use that. No, that's food donated oftentimes. If it's in our warehouse for a while, it may reach that date, but the vast majority of food we distribute even before the best of purchase by date. The bottom line is this: a lot of people see food like that, even grocery stores, who don't take the time because it's just easier to go throw it in the dumpster.
Yep.
I mean, it's then to take it, let it take up space, coordinate with a food bank, go get it. I mean, let them come pick it up and do all that kind of stuff. It's just easier to go throw it in the dumpster and be done with it and just write off the loss. But what I want people to understand is, we understand the short shelf life. It's easy to tell when milk has gone bad because it'll start to smell. But in terms of a lot of dairy products, they have quite a long shelf life with cheese and butter and all those kind of things. What we're trying to do is take good food, safe food, and redistribute it. But lots of times it doesn't even make it to us because of things like, oh, well, it's coming up on the best of purchase by date, which means they don't want to sell it in the store. They try to discount it, move it, or whatever. And then they just throw that kind of stuff away because they know that customers don't know the difference. They're not going to spend the time trying to educate customers. It's not cost efficient for them to do so. That's just one of several reasons. When you look at us in restaurants, look, I'm no different. I cook. I may put a bunch of food. I take one taste of it. Yeah, that doesn't taste good. I throw the whole thing out. And we do that because we're confident that if I go back to the store, there's going to be more food there. We're always cognizant of that. Do you remember seeing, you and I are so old, do you remember back in the 70s and the 80s, they would show, back in the Soviet Union, they would show grocery stores oftentimes, and they would show from, the aisles the shelves would go 1 to 5 high, and there'd be nothing on the shelves on some of them. And sometimes you just have a couple loaves of bread, and people would come there every day just to get, the supply wasn't there at all. The demand was, but the supply wasn't. And we live in such abundance, and I hope and pray that we never get to a point. We got a little taste of that in COVID when it came to toilet paper and other things.
And boy, did we pitch a fit, didn't we?
And
where are my baby back ribs? Baby back ribs were gone. I was like, I couldn't believe I went to Full Moon. They're like, they're out of baby back. It's like, how can you be out of baby back ribs? Like COVID. I'm like, and I was pitching a fit. And I was like, what's wrong with me? Yeah, because I couldn't get my baby back ribs. You really do
see the worst in humanity come out when people were like, screw you, I don't care. I'm getting as much toilet paper as I can, or I'm getting as much alcohol as I can, or whatever it was, baby wipes, whatever it was. Everybody's like, screw you, it's every man for himself. And you just saw it was a microcosm of how society devolves when there's any sort of shortage. You let most of our stuff come up short because of that. And our attitudes, just like we still see it with people who lived through the Depression, who still may have plenty of money, but fold up aluminum foil and reuse it every time.
Nothing wrong with that.
Or reuse bacon grease. Yeah. So we live in abundance. We're very spoiled. We take it for granted. There'll always be more, so it doesn't bother us to throw it away. And then when we do have these safety systems put into place, people are not educating themselves on what it really means and are throwing away perfectly good food that otherwise could go to help others. So those aren't the only two things either, but it's a huge challenge just to educate folks and to help them understand, part of the issues and how to keep our food supply robust. And anyway, that's what we try to do, and I appreciate for those listening, and help spread that information out to your neighbors, and be a part of saving food rather than wasting it. And let's feed more and more of our neighbors.
And this is Bite, Bite, Bite.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.